I want to give a warm welcome to our guest speaker, Andrew Alvarez. So, who is Andrew Alvarez? Andrew Alvarez is a transborder educator with an interest in sociology, history, psychology, migration, neuroscience, and the spread of the Mexican and American popular culture, specifically in the American Southwest. In this session, Andrew will talk about his origin story and passion for teaching. He will also provide advice to our future educators here today, in specifically on teaching English language learners at the Imperial Valley, Mexicali borderlands. So with no further ado, we go ahead and give the mic and our virtual floor to Andrew Alvarez.
So hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, especially on a Friday afternoon. A lot of us are probably tired, especially if you're subbing or if you're already a full-time teacher that is getting more credentialing. I want to introduce myself briefly. You know, that's one of the main points that I'm going to talk about, my inspiration to become a teacher. I actually come from a long family of teachers. My great-grandfather, perhaps in a more of an ironic twist, wanted to have one teacher in the family, only one teacher. And he almost, you know, if this was a dramatic movie, right, he would be in the sky. Oh God, please give me one teacher in my family. And he got, you know, about 7 teachers in my family. Only one of my great uncles is not a teacher, and she was involved in education anyway. And from there on, my grandmother, you know, within her children, my dad's not a teacher, is actually my aunt. She's a PhD in material physics, and then I myself, I am a teacher at Calexico High School. In Calexico High School, I teach AP psychology. I teach psychology and sociology. I have 3 preps. Thankfully, 2 of them are combo classes, so I don't have to teach them at the same time. As you get more preps, you take a while to design a lot of the lessons, and that's not great for your time or your social life. So let me tell you about my background. As many of my students in Calexico, I live in Mexicali and I cross every single day. Thankfully, I have a Sentry card now, which means that I cross within like minutes. Sometimes it's like 5 minutes. And the only delay that might actually take me is the delay that it takes me to a while just to get a taxi and just go to the high school. But a lot of our students are not that lucky. They might not have a Sentry card because the pandemic created a long delay. They might not have the money. They might not have a bunch of things. And just like your students, I was in that position. If you were to consider the situation of your students and my situation right now, the only difference is that my students are considered homeless, where I am not. If you think about it, the experience of your student is spent most of the day crossing the fence. Usually, a lot of them are waiting at 6. I have a student that lives by Coca-Cola in Mexicali, so that means that he's probably waking up at like 4 in the morning, 4:30, so he can take the bus and be there at 6, and so he can cross. And your students are, by the way, doing this every single day, every single day. It doesn't matter how cold it is. It doesn't matter how hot it is. It doesn't matter how rainy it is. A lot of them have to go to school. A lot of them are going to be doing this forever. You know, they've been doing it for their entire lives. They've been doing it for 12 years, perhaps 15 if you add kinder, if they went to kinder in the United States. One of the most impressive stories I'm going to tell you all about it, and it's definitely an inspiration of why I'm still a teacher, is probably Ivana Garibay, was one of the students that I can tell you about because she was in the newspaper. I don't know if you guys read the Imperial Valley Press a whole lot, but if you Google Ivana Garibay and you put Harvard, 2 years ago, that was the only student in Imperial Valley that went to Harvard. And she went to neuroscience, which is a program that had a less than 3% acceptance rate. And she was going to school from 5 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon because she was not allowed to walk to Mexicali alone. Mom had to pick her up. So she was involved in a lot of after-school activities. And this was every single day. And your students do it too. To move on, just to give you a bit of my background education, I graduated from Central Union High School. My normal experience in Central Union High School was wake up at 5 in the morning, 5:30, ask my dad to take me to the fence because I didn't drive. And I would take a bus that no longer exists called Numero Uno. And Numero Uno was stacked with students. So if you were standing, consider yourself lucky because that bus could get filled immediately. So not only we were competing for space in the line, we were competing for space in the bus. And that was the reality for a lot of students nowadays. It's very few students that still go to El Centro. I know because I used to live in El Centro for a while. and I would see them whenever I went to stop at Lincoln Elementary or other schools in the district. They would actually come down on the bus. Will leave them through a very rough area. If you've never been in El Centro, if you're not familiar where El Centro's bus station is going to be at, it's in a very rough area. It's in downtown El Centro, and downtown El Centro is filled with homeless people. Are not going to do anything to you, but sometimes it is very close to Adam Street, and Adam Street has a lot of drug addicts and a lot of people that you would consider perhaps unfairly shady. So your students are navigating those streets every single time. They also navigate it through Calexico, and they also navigate it to Raleigh. One of your next speakers is actually going to be all of this, but he's going to go to Imperial instead of going to Central. And you see a lot of these stories happening all across the borderlands, happening every single day. Again, I'm going through very scattered thoughts. If you guys have any questions, you guys want to interrupt me, or you want me to address them in the chat, that's fine. I can stop at any time. I'm already used to it. As a matter of fact, I encourage you guys, whenever you guys are lecturing on something, that you let space for your students to ask questions, that you do something that is known as a check for understanding, that even if you just said it, right, you're like, what did I just say? Like, if you are talking about a term, like today I was talking about personality in psychology, I would talk about personality, I would be talking for 5 minutes, and then I would stop. It's like, what's personality? Anyone? And you open the floor to anyone, and if no one answers, you take up your trusty paleta sticks or your deck of cards or whatever you have. You have to ensure that a lot of those opportunities are equitable opportunities. Everyone has a decent chance to talk. And if you want to make it even more equitable, you can make one deck of cards for all the boys in your class and for all the girls in your class, so you can pull from one on one, and you always have a chance to have equal voices. And if you have students at your level, I come to understand that a lot of you might be in the multiple subject area. If you have some students that identify as gender non-conforming or gender fluid or even transgender, then you can make one for them too. Make sure you ask them, maybe they don't want to be singled out. But anyways, where I was going, I graduated from Central in 2010. I graduated from IBC in 2016. Took me a while to graduate from IBC, not because I gallivanted through IBC. That seems to be a popular, pastime at IBC. People just take a while to graduate, and that's okay. Yeah, getting your BA is not a race; it's a marathon, and as long as you keep a steady pace, you will get it. You will get it. I actually had to go to SDSU at 2014, and when I went to SDSU, when I went to become a teacher, told me you're missing 5 classes. So there I go again to IBC to make up those 5 classes. I graduated from San Diego State 2016 to 2017. I graduated around for both at the same time. That's because I had to come back to the classes at IBC. And then I graduated from the teacher's license, the program that you guys were in. I was on that side of the classroom, I guess. I know we're Zoom, but pretend that we're all in the classroom, and I'm on the board. You're in the audience. I was on that side of the classroom 3 years ago. And as I was mentioning in the beginning, maybe some of you already got the story. I am doing the credential program right during the pandemic. Right during the pandemic, I'm doing the credential program and teaching government and economics. And if you guys want to know a bit of a spoiler, I'm talking about government and the democratic process while the January 6th insurrection is happening in the background. So I'm telling my students, yeah, that real life event, that historic moment that is happening in the background, please ignore it. Let's talk about the voting process. But very fun experience, which is why I've told a couple of teachers that I'm never teaching government again, but that's not up to me. By the way, that's not up to you. I'm teaching AP psychology right now. I'm teaching psychology right now. I'm teaching sociology right now. If my administrator tells me this afternoon, hey, next year you're teaching history, there's nothing I can do. I'm teaching history next year, and I better prep for that history class. In any case, I was teaching government economics through Zoom. It was a very rough time because I had to teach graphs on Zoom, which is not ideal. And I didn't realize until midway through the semester that Zoom has a whiteboard function, and that was a lifesaver. And I was able to teach economics through graphs. I was teaching government to students that were not engaged, students that had every reason not to be engaged, because for a while it did feel like it was a very hopeless future. It did feel like there might not be a world to come back to. And even though that might not be reality, because we're having a lot of those flashbacks to the pandemic through the benefit of hindsight, it did look hopeless for a while. A lot of people that were substitutes, like myself, were unemployed. We couldn't get any work until we started doing subbing through Zoom, which is as stupid as it sounds, and it is stupid as it sounds, but it's a paycheck. So it's interesting to be back in Zoom and teach, or rather communicate with you guys through this platform. So right after the pandemic, I started to throw a bunch of applications everywhere. I'm single. I have family, but I'm not married. I don't have any children. So I have the benefit of being able to do that, which is one of the things that you're going to come to understand. Perhaps I'm speaking to you when I'm saying this, that sometimes we do have family, we do have children, we do have different people to take care of, and we are not in the privilege to just move around as easy as I could do. So I was hired by San Jose. I was hired by a very fancy bougie school, a school that it is absolutely a-okay to go protest George Floyd as one of their classes. That's okay. That would be a school day. They're a very socially conscious school, very bougie, and there's people from Imperial Valley, and they tell me, anyways, you get less than 24 hours to get an apartment. We like you, you're hired, but you gotta be in San Jose in a week. And I'm like, that's not realistic. And they told me, that's the facts. So there I go again, back into getting employment. And I actually applied to Valentine Academy. Most of my teaching experience was in elementary. That is the kind of schools that gave me the first opportunity to start subbing. So I subbed for mostly elementary schools, which is weird because now most of my experience is at the high school level. But if you can teach the little ones, you can teach the big ones. Don't worry, they're the same thing. Sometimes they do act like 6-year-olds. Especially my AP kids like to act like 6-year-olds, especially when I tell them something's due, and they're like, "What do you mean it's a due? I need more time. You're an AP. Sorry." So I teach, mostly elementary. So I want to transfer to elementary because that's more my experience is. And I got hired by Valentine Academy. Like they're about to offer me the contract. It's like, anyways, I have to enroll in San Diego State again. Go get a license. Like, what do you mean you don't have a license or you don't have a credential? Like, no, I don't have it, but I'll enroll. No, we cannot offer you the job to because you don't have your schooling. You're not in schooling, or you don't have a teacher's license for multiple subjects. So I was like, well, all right, thank you for the opportunity. So there I go again, back into the grind. And then I see a posting, right? AP psychology teacher, Calexico High School. And I'm like, I'm not gonna get it. It's an AP position. I'm not gonna get it. It's a whatever position. I mean, whatever. I'm gonna apply to it. Whatever comes from it, I'll just take the opportunity to practice my interview process, and I do it. So I got to the interview, and very intimidating. I don't know if you guys. I don't want to speak ill of her because she's a very great leader. I mean, there's a lot of positives, even though she has a bit of a reputation. But Gabrielle Williams, which is a former principal of Calexico High School, very intimidating person. She has a very immediate presence. So whenever I go in, I'm interviewing with her, and the very first thing that comes to my mouth is, "My name is Andrew Alvarez," blah, 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 blah. And they don't understand me, and it's like, "I'm sorry, can I talk again?" And then we will begin the process of interviewing me, and basically I show them that I have the content knowledge to teach those classes. And I walk out, and I'm like, I'm never getting that job back or ever. So I just go home, enjoy my rest of the afternoon, and then I show up to work, the next day, and they call me as I'm taking my break, actually about to use the restroom, between passing periods. They call me, it's like, "Hey, you're the number one pick. When do you do you want to send the contract?" And as luck would have it, I actually had interviewed in Yuma, and not even Yuma wanted me at the time, and that's not a great feeling to feel when not even Yuma wants you. And Yuma sometimes has a reputation of taking anyone. So imagine the district that doesn't take anyone doesn't want you. That's very damaging for your mental health. And then Calexico wants me, and then Yuma wants me, and then Ballington almost calls me again. It's like, "Hey, we're willing to give you a try." It's like, "Sorry, I'm employed now." And now it becomes a bit of a issue because now I have no real experience. I wish I could tell you subbing is real experience. It doesn't resemble the real thing. Most of the teachers, and if you have been my substitutes, I'm sorry. Most of the time, most teachers will not trust you with anything that is going to interrupt the routine. Most of the time, you're going to be supervising a worksheet. Most of the time, you're going to be supervising a net puzzle. Most of the time, you're going to be supervising something that can be done in a day, and students are not going to take advantage of you. Students will take advantage of you when you're subbing. I don't have to probably tell you that. You probably experienced this. So I walk into my classroom. As a matter of fact, they told me show up on October 15. That is when we are going to be able to give you your classroom for the first time. So I walk in. Again, I see Miss Williams, and it's like, "I'm your new teacher. What's up?" And she's like, "I have no idea who you are." Like, your new teacher. I already signed the contract. What's up? And I was like, I got to call HR, and HR absolutely forgot about me. So eventually, everything comes up to be clear, and they don't know what to do with me. It's like, "Do you want to see your classroom?" And I'm like, "No." Kind of want to prep before I go in, so they throw me into my classroom while they find out what to do with me. And I walk into my classroom. Mr. Estrada. If you've been at Bulldog, you probably know Mr. Estrada. Mr. Estrada is still subbing. Actually, I think I'm gonna have his daughter next year. For EpiPsych. And Mr. Estrada is there. He introduces myself with me. He just gives me the down low of everything what's going on in the classroom. Tells me really good class, really great thing. And people ask me like, "Are you another substitute?" And I said, "No, I'm your actual teacher." So the very first question they asked me is, "Do you speak Spanish?" And I said, "Yes." And you see the wave of relief that those students have, because they're not only are they having someone that speaks their language, but also someone that is able to be a professional. And I say professional between quotations because I will tell you right now, the very first month that I was in the classroom, I was setting up my prep, writing my lesson plans, grading whatever. And the feeling that I had that at some point, Miss Williams is going to come in and say, "Hey, thank you for trying. Here's the real teacher. Go back home," was very, very strong. And after a while, it went away. So if you have performance anxiety, if you feel like you have imposter syndrome, it does go away. For me, it went away within a month. One of the things that I found out is that I was grading, papers. I was like, chamacos, like I thought this, they should know this, they should know this, they should know this, they should know this. And I just went, huh, I don't have that feeling anymore. I'm already, in the saddle. So yeah, basically, that's the story of how I become inspired to be a teacher. How I am a teacher. So I'm gonna tell you about my experience about teaching EL students. Everyone in Calexico High School is almost an EL student or are reclassified students. Very few of our students are going to be fluent in English from the get-go. One of the reasons how we determine if they're going to be English learners, lifelong learners, or bilingual students is because they send a survey home. If you're a parent, you probably have seen this survey, and the survey tells you what is your primary language at home. And if you answer Spanish, your child has to be tested by LPAC. And LPAC is huge in the high school. We're trying to reclassify a lot of students. So you guys are talking about translanguaging, and that's great because I wish I will tell you it's not optional. By law, you are required to be a ELL educator. The state does expect you to have differentiation strategies in the classroom. As a matter of fact, when I get my observations done by admin has to observe me every now and then. This year they didn't observe me, but they're observing me next year. They're looking for that differentiation strategy. They're looking, what are you doing in the classroom that is helping your EL English language students to learn? And for me, that's a huge task because my class is very vocab heavy. Everything that I do has new vocab. And because there is no state standards for psychology and sociology, I mean, there's APA standards for both and ASA standards for both, which stands for American Psychological Association and American Sociological, excuse me, American Sociological Association. They have standards for high school, but they're recommended standards. So you kind of are told what to do, but no one tells you at the end of high school they should know this about psychology. At the end of high school they should know about this about sociology. And the AP test and the AP courses are not even standards based because College Worth sets a curriculum that you have to obey. I don't know if you guys are familiar what happened with Florida this summer. No one. So Florida picks a fight with College Worth because they have this in AP psychology and in regular psychology too. We talk about transgender people, we talk about homosexuality, we talk about all these processes, and we try to explain it as what's the process? Is there a biological reason for that? There is not. There is no gauging. Just to give you guys an example of like how much the science has evolved. When I was in IBC, the existence of the gauging was like questioned, and now people recently have said that's pseudoscience. That doesn't belong in the classroom. So we teach that from a historical perspective rather than a science perspective. So a lot of students walk into my classroom thinking that they're going to be learning about Sigmund Freud from the get-go, and I talk about the parts of the brain, and they're like, "What do you mean this is a biology class?" The second question they ask me is like, "Why am I not getting the science credit for this class? It's a social science." And I've been pushing my admin to let students choose whether they want to take it as a science or as a social science because you get both anyway. I wish I could show you student samples, but some of them are not cleared for me to show you because they have names. And I don't want to expose my students. By the way, your students have privacy rights. Do not be like many teachers. They get caught and suspended because they have posted stuff on social media about their students. Even posting your classroom is not allowed. That is because it goes against the school safety plan. because you're telling whoever is looking at your social media where the entrances and your exits in the classroom are going to be, and where is your classroom in relation to the school site. There's a lot of things that you will learn like in your first year, and they might seem overwhelming, but trust me, it all settles down. So I was telling you guys that you are an ELD educator or an ELL educator. We still have ELD in school. A lot of schools are going to have different programs by necessity. Everyone is an ELD educator. Everyone teaches content in ELD. Translating terms into Spanish, absolutely a thing that you should do. Absolutely a thing that you will do. Sentence frames, sentence structures, how to start a conversation. Teaching race, teaching sodas, teaching whatever acronym you are teaching when it comes to writing. You're teaching that there's no optional thing. I remember when I was sitting in your side of the classroom that one of my classmates says, I don't want to teach EL students. I want to go to the APs. I want to teach the hardcore students. And I would like to remind you, I have students that are ELLs and APs. I have students that are not reclassified. They are by the school, they're considered to be English learners. I have them in AP. I have them in all my they are in honors courses. A lot of the students are students that are motivated enough to go to college, and they will take the challenge. So I have also students with a 504. I have students with an IEP. You guys know what that means. You guys have taken your SPED class. By the way, you can actually lose your license if you do not respect the rights of the students. There's a lot of teachers, especially in my campus. I'm not going to tell you who, but if you've been a Bulldog, you already know who it is. They don't let students use the restroom sometimes because students use that as a way to like just gallivant through the classroom. That's a surefire way for you to lose your license, specifically if it comes into a civil rights complaint. In any case, I used to move on quickly. Some of the classes that some of my students that I have, most of them are going to be in your expanding, in your second or third level. Very, very rarely you will have a student that it's going to be at the very beginning of levels, your student that doesn't know any Spanish whatsoever. They do have some kind of experience already when they come into your classroom, or at least when they come to mine, they already have some kind of experience with English. At the very least, they can write. They might not be able to write well, but they can write with sentence structures. So if you provide structures for your students, they are going to be able to do a lot of the demands that you do. And even AP students benefit from having structures, sentence structures. You need to do a lot of modeling too. One lesson that I learn every single year, I believe that my students can be independent, and then I find out they're not independent, even in AP. You have to model for your students every single time that you introduce something new. You have to model for them, especially for ELLs, because they might come from a background that doesn't have a lot of technology. I was joking with my niece a lot of the times, and my niece is in high school in Mexico. She's not going to a fancy bilingual school. She's not going to a fancy school. She's going to Conalep or something like that. I don't remember exactly. She told me, but out of my mind right now. And I saw that the teacher still writes the notes on the board, and I'm like, I never done that in the 3 years of my life. I've used Google Classroom. I used a lot of aids. As a matter of fact, the way I teach writing is I use a writing companion that is called Class Companion. If you guys want to check that out, it's actually a really good companion because as you're typing, and it might have evolved to include other subjects, as you're typing and you press enter, your students get feedback immediately. So for example, for me, in which I have to teach FRQ, an FRQ is a free response question, and FRQs are going to be a question that gives you a paragraph of information and tells me, define and apply the following terms. And your English learner students are not going to be happy about that because it requires very precise and very rich content area writing in those topics. So Class Companion, gives them real-time feedback. So whenever you want to teach something asynchronously, that's great for writing. So I taught a lot of my English learners how to do FRQs with a lot of AI tools. So to come back to why I was talking about this, a lot of your students are transitioning for backgrounds in which they don't include any technology. They have never seen Google Classroom. They have probably never seen Adobe Express. They have probably never seen Nearpod. So you have to teach the structure to your students. ELs, more than anyone, benefit from structure. They benefit from being able to know what to do, where to do it, and how to do it. And if you are consistent with those what, when, and where, a lot of them are going to be able to grow. And if you include anything, in that structure, they will grow naturally. You don't have to do a lot of the things that you see in your classroom all at the same time. You can do it all of them at multiple times. You guys are seeing jigsaws, for example, in your classes. My students hate jigsaws with a burning passion. If you are giving them a jigsaw, they will hate you. They will stare daggers at you. They will do it, but they don't enjoy it. They would rather work in teams. They would rather work in groups. They would rather do something else for jigsaws. And that is because if you look at jigsaws, they're going to be like, but that side of the classroom is going to do something else, and this side of the classroom is not going to do anything. So with jigsaw reading, why are we doing this? And this brings me to another point that I want to bridge. I don't know how much time I have left, but feel free to interrupt me if you guys want to have a Q&A session.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to also engage with the class. First of all, I just kind of want to provide a little bit of structure. So we went through your story. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think it's so important for everybody to address your positionality in your work. And we heard about your passion for teaching, how that came about. I think it was it your grandfather or father that asked?
Great grandfather.
Great grandfather that asked for one teacher in the family, and then it turns out he had what, 7 teachers?
Give or take, yeah.
Yes. So here, going back to the class and engaging a little bit with our class here, does anybody want to share your passion for teaching? And then I think we addressed it last class, but maybe if somebody hasn't had a chance to share last time, does anybody want to share what inspired you? What is your passion? What inspired your passion to teaching? We are so shy here. Also, if you can share here in the chat or just simply by unmuting yourself, what are the different areas that you're planning to or hoping to or aspiring to go into once you graduate?
As you guys are typing that or thinking about that, I'd like to give you insight into why using something software like Class Companion is important. Some of your English language learners do not want to speak because their pronunciation skills are not that great. And you can circumvent that because sometimes the writing skills can be stronger. Because Class Companion, not Class Companion, sorry, Nearpod. Nearpod has the ability for you to create like discussions, and you can use it's kind of like included. If you guys use Padlet, it has like a similar function. So you can ask a question, like a check for understanding, and students can still participate without having chances to talk. My district, just so you guys know, would prefer that they talk because practice makes practice makes perfect. But sometimes it might be Friday, they're not into it. You're never gonna get blood from a stone. It's Friday, they give it all. They're not looking forward to your class. They're looking forward to the weekend. They're children. That's fine. You get them writing, and you can set whatever performance you want. Like if you want them to use race, you just tell them race. If you want them to use couple sentences, that's okay. If you want to do the SEL checking that Dr. Falcon uses, you can still do that. Your students don't have to talk. And sometimes if it's the morning, a lot of your students don't want to talk. They just want to like get through the first period. So no one wants to share. I'll teach you another
Also,
strategy.
if it's evening as well.
Oh yeah.
If it's evening as well, usually people don't want to share. And I hear you and I feel you. Friday, 5:30 p.m. But for those of you who are here engaging, thank you so much. And I do want to take a pause. So first of all, for if you're listening, if you're learning, if you're paying attention, let us know either what inspired you to go into teaching, or what are you looking forward to in teaching? What area are you looking to go into? Are you looking to go into history, Spanish? What are you hoping to go into once you graduate with your teaching credentials? So here in the chat box, I want to know. We want to know. Also, so you're Andrew, right now you're discussing, so it's a class Companion, is that correct?
Yeah, and Class Companion for right now it's free.
Mhm.
It's AI is much maligned by teachers. AI. A lot of you probably have heard all the stories about ChatGPT. Uh, if you're teaching English learners, ChatGPT, it's super easy to detect because you have a eighth grader that all of a sudden is writing like a master's level student, and you're like, that's plagiarism. You can also ask them questions about whatever they just wrote, and a lot of them are going to be like, I don't remember. How do you expect me to remember? And I will tell them, you wrote it. You can
Could you walk
justify it.
us through it?
Class
Might it be
companion.
possible? Might it be
Yeah,
possible
give
for you to?
me 1 second to pull it up and then set up something for you guys.
And maybe we can engage in an activity with
Sure thing.
Class Companion to see how it is. I'm a very like visual person. I kind of need to see how it looks like. How many
Uh,
are like visual learners? Raise your hand if you are. Yeah, I think it'll be very helpful. And if you have the link handy, you can put it in the chat. That way, our students can know about it. And if it's free, even better, because you can, download it and use it. Maybe even
it's
perhaps
it's
for a teaching demonstration next week.
it's a website, so you don't have to download it, which is great. If you guys are going to be on a district computer, I'm not on my district computer. I'm actually on my personal computer. Um, but sometimes district does not allow us to install anything, and I get it. So that is the website, and let me close a couple of tabs. It's always a good reminder of to um, it's always a good reminder to like close your tabs whenever you're doing Zoom things. One of the things that I would do sometimes is to watch the news like in the morning, but I don't get to do that anymore. But my master teacher would have a lot of tabs open, and some of those tabs often contain new assignments, and students were able to see new assignments before they were assigned. Um, and if you post something before you are ready to assign it, then it's going to be your students will do it. Do have sharing privileges?
Yeah, you do.
All right. Okay. So class companion, I'm gonna share it, and you can see it here. And then you see how you like to add an assignment. I'm gonna be doing what I do, which is psychology. So I'm gonna go duplicate from content library, and then you have it right. There's like a lot of assignments already here, and you can sort by subject. Advisory, algebra, anatomy and physiology, art and history, business, chemistry, Chinese, civics, career readiness, blah 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 blah. There's a bunch of different stuff, right? So let's do the English language, right? That's what you guys are probably interested. You are in a multicultural class, and here you have a bunch of different activities, right? Let's go this one. Short answer. True love can conquer all problems. We click on preview. The reason why it's in preview and it's not letting me do what the psychology one can do. But is this statement true or false? Write two or more sentences of analysis using your assigned collaboration technique. And what Class Companion allows you to do is that you can set feedback for your students, and then you will use AI to get that feedback and tell your students yes, but no. I'm gonna try to find a psychology one so I can show you what it actually looks like. I never used the English one, so I didn't know that it would do that. But if we go into psychology, which is mostly AP psychology, we have brain practice FRQ.
How about for Spanish, Andrew?
All right, let's see if there's a Spanish one. The thing is that I want to show you the AI portion of it. So I don't know if the Spanish one has it. We'll try it, but let's see. So Spanish or Spanish language, which one do you want?
Any
Either.
will.
Any will do. Okay. So advantage that in education can provide for indigenous students. Well, that's actually pretty relevant to us right now. Assign, continue. That's a sample class that I did. You format. We'll do an essay. Let's do short answer actually because we're doing demonstrations. I never done one for Spanish, which I don't add rubric. This is actually the one that you guys care about. The rubric guides the AI in giving feedback and suggesting scores. Now, the reason why I didn't want to use the Spanish one, I will still do a Spanish one, is because a lot of the psychology ones already have pre-included rubrics. So I, as an educator, don't have to do anything. people smarter than I am already went through the effort of doing this, so they already added rubrics. And as this website mentions, it will actually tell the AI how to grade your students' work, and you can give them as many attempts as you want. You can give them as many chances as you want, and the AI will actually provide a script for them to change up their answers. And there you have the background, right? The introduction. You can just put whatever, and then you can put the question. Right here, we don't have a specific question, but you can probably use the example. What is the main idea of the speech? A lot of our students still struggle with main ideas of things. So that wouldn't be out of the ordinary of something that you would do in your own classes in Spanish or English, practicing main idea of speeches. And then you can just add a bunch of different things. I do want to show you how that looks like. So I'm going to switch to psychology this time around. And you guys can absolutely play with it within your own subject. And I must warn you that a lot of them might not have the thing that I want to show you guys. So you as a student, and let me see if there we go. Okay, so a lot of our students do this. They put a picture of a cat, upload the assignment, and then if you're feeling lazy one Friday night, you just give them points. So what prevents the student from go ahead and just put this? It seems like there might be a typo in your response. Please try again. It's not going to take it as an answer. It's going to tell you, try again. So why is the parietal lobe help surfers to exhibit shark? Let's do something. Limbic system, cerebellum. I want to expose myself because it's a Friday afternoon, and then I should know all of this because I teach this. But it's still an easy one, and I'm still going to get it wrong. So you're teaching them race, so you should be when you're modeling this, and I was modeling this to my students every time we did this. Like I mentioned, every single time that you are introducing a new piece of technology, you have to model to your students. Your students are not going to have any idea what to do, and if you give them the chance to stray away from the lesson, they will stray from the lesson immediately. I have the benefit of having my students doing having AP students, and AP students are a little bit more motivated than your regular students because again, they are challenge seekers. Some of your students just want to get through life. That's okay. I tell them it's okay, but let's do it. So the frontal lobe helps. Put love as in love helps the surfer escape the shark by enabling him to make executive decisions. It does have a bit of a failure rate. I'll tell you that much, which is why we probably want students to get more attempts. Whatever attempts you feel comfortable with doing, I usually give them 3 because I don't want them guessing. Because you can definitely brute force an answer from this thing. Because Watch is gonna actually give me feedback, and if I didn't give it feedback, I didn't give it the answer that the rubric wants, it's gonna tell me. Right? And there you go. I gave him a half an answer, so it gave me feedback. While you correctly identified that the frontal lobes involved in making executive decisions, the answer lacks detail and application to the scenario. The frontal lobe is responsible for planning, decision making, and then you can read all of that, right? So I gave it a partial answer. He gave me partial credit. And that is the power of your rubric and AI, because you can assign this asynchronously. If you want them to practice writing, say there is the biggest project in your unit, the biggest thing that your department wants to get done before, say, December is a big essay, you can assign a lot of this practice, and you can assign a lot of this practice. In this case, when we talk about psychology, we talk about AP psychology. So if I were to get this from my regular students, we don't call them regulars, we call them on level. The idea of regulars implies that being an AP is special, but we sometimes tend to be a little bit loosey with language. So the difference between my on-level classes and my AP psychology classes is that during an on-level class, I will probably take this answer. That will be a full credit answer. because the skill levels that you see in a regular class or in an on-level class, again, I need to correct myself, is wildly indifferent. While your students are taking that as an elective, they might not be taking it as a challenge. They might not become challenged. That's okay. A lot of them are exploring what they want to do for the rest of their life, and they're going to be doing that in college. For my AP students, I'm not taking that answer. Period. That's not an answer. They have to add more to it. So that's the power of Class Companion. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question for the class. Raise your hand if you could see yourself using Class Companion for any of your future lessons, whether it's the content teaching demonstrations or just in your experience in the classroom.
All
Okay.
right, so I'm going to show you another one while I'm still at it. Right, I guess this will be my 5 tips. So I'm going to show you classroom technology. Here's another one that I began using with my regular students or on-level students. Again, same mistake. I need to stop sharing, set up the website. This is actually something that we use in the APs. A lot of AP teachers use it. Let me just log in and then perhaps not show you student samples. So let me see. This is Alvarez, and Alvarez is an amazing tool set because you can actually, let's do assignment builder, right? Like get started, it will give you tutorials and whatever, add questions. And let's see, you can add by standards. So it does have a lot of standards here. You have standard sets. I am an AP psychology teacher. I use this for AP psychology teachers teaching. So if I add standards, it gives me all the standards. So I can look at questions for standards. If I am trying to develop a test, if I want practice before a test, if I want whatever before whatever, I can choose for standards, right? So I have a lot of those. So I'm not going to add any of them because I want to show you the other one. Subject and topics, right? AP psychology, choose subjects, suggested subjects. Let's say someone said Spanish. So we have Spanish, AP Spanish Lit, Spanish, AP Spanish Language, Spanish 1, Spanish 3. So if you're teaching any of those classes, there you go, Spanish 1. Hola, ¿qué tal? Nueva entidad. And then vocabulary, grammar, reading, listening. So we go to vocabulary, grammar. So we apply to it. And let's see, show 20 results. And there you have it. Selecciona la palabra correcta para completar la oración según la imagen. Someone had a question. Multiple people had a question. Do you guys like to share the question in the chat, or if you want to mute yourselves, go ahead. No? Yes?
I think that it was regarding my question for if they could see themselves
Okay,
using
yeah.
class caption.
Well, I guess the same question. Who would like to use Alvarez, for your next lesson, for demonstration? And you can see the stimulus questions, easy, moderate. It allows you to get an explanation. So the powerful, the ability of Alvarez is that someone already made the questions for you. And also they have provided explanations, right? So the correct answer is el niño es delgado, and it tells you el niño es delgado, delgado es la respuesta correcta porque la palabra describe físicamente el niño de la imagen, el niño no es gordo, blah, 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 blah. And it has it in English, which is probably really great for you guys that are in middle school or perhaps are in high school. You're teaching Spanish 1 to your students. Your students might be from Mexico, but that doesn't guarantee that they had the same level of education as everyone else. That's a big issue. That's a huge assumption that we're making whenever we are teaching people. You believe that they went through all their schooling in Mexico and that all schooling was created equal. And it's not. Not even in the United States it's equal. Not even in Denmark it's created equal. So that's an assumption that we make, and that's not a good assumption. So it's good to have, this level of differentiation when it comes to Albert. You have explanations in Spanish, you have explanations in English. Again, you have more complex answers. You have, is there a hard one here? Difficult. It's not called hard. And now you see it, right? You actually see this level of scaffolding. You go into more, deeper levels of understanding. So you have more advanced students. You can probably assign them a little bit of extra work, maybe a little bit extra credit to motivate it to do them, because you're scaffolding and you're also providing differentiation. Differentiation, just so you guys know, Doesn't mean I'm only helping one type of students. Some of your students might be more advanced than other students, and they might need the challenge. This gives you an idea of getting to a nice lesson. And if you see it here in the stimulus-based questions, you see 1 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4. So sometimes they have a continuation questions that you guys have. No?
Yeah,
Yes?
thank you. Right now, I think it's a good time to just pause.
Okay.
So we just saw the class caption, the Albert .io questions about these softwares. This is definitely something that you can use even as of now for your teaching demonstrations. But once you're in the field, or for those of you who are already, for example, substitute teaching, this is definitely something you can use. Any practical questions on these tools?
I just want to say, and I just want to thank you, Andrew, for sharing these like different programs with us, because I'm currently like using, for example, you know how we use Edpuzzle, or we're using vocabulary, those type of programs. But now when you bring something different into the class, I'm pretty sure that my student will be like, oh, we're gonna do something different. So they're gonna be excited about trying this. And now I'm currently teaching ELD, but I also have two Spanish classes, and I'm thinking maybe I can use this. What is it?
This is Alvarez.
Okay, to use it just for like to implement something different, like try different strategies with my students to see whether they like it, or whether like they get engaged in the lesson, and just try to use variety.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Any other questions? And yeah, absolutely. I like that, Iralena's insights that you might be already using some tools. Maybe they could be similar, but you keep it fresh and you keep it. And I think students like that, right? When you have like new and different tools to use. We have Olivier. Okay. Olivier, did you have anything you wanted to ask regarding the tools?
Oh, I wanted to ask, what is the website called? Because
Albert.io. It's actually posted on the chat for you
on the
guys to
chat?
keep. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if that's the link. Yeah, that is the link. So yeah,
Oh.
it's something different, as they mentioned. Go right ahead. Sorry about that.
Okay, and I think you had one more that you were going to show us. Is that correct?
No, I can show you another one if you guys want want me to. I don't know if I'm already using too much of your time. But if you want to see.
Yeah, so so right now, we can take a moment to just reflect on these tools. So for everybody here, if you could think about like your top 3 tools to engage in the classroom, what are they? What do you use? And you can share here. So one of mine that I really enjoy using is Padlet, especially with teaching online. And this is at the college level, but it really has helped, especially with really large classes that I've taught in the past online, when engaging in the breakout rooms and engaging in discussion and having everybody participate. Padlet has been very useful. But does anybody have a tool that is maybe your top number 1 or top 5 tools or tool that you want to share?
One tool that I use in my class that I have seen that my students really like it's Kahoot, because they're like competing against each other. So they're like, okay, especially when I said, you know what, the top three on the podium, first, second, and third, you're gonna get this, or you're gonna earn extra credit, or you're gonna get a Pride ticket so you can have a free dress on Monday. So I feel that like Kahoot works for me. And I'm actually like incorporating this new one, Gym Kit. It's a game. It's an online game where students, you just like pick the topic. For example, today they were doing subject pronouns and said, and the verbs there. So they were competing by playing, like earning points every time they answer a question correctly. They go up, but then they can fall. So I'm just like trying like different apps to see which one works best for my students.
Yeah, sounds lovely. Does anybody else want to share? And Andrew, I think it would be great if we could see one more. So we have here, you have the
Sure thing.
Adobe Express. Yeah, let's go over this. I think one more tool would be great.
So this is Adobe Express, and as I mentioned on the web on the chat, ICOE, which is the governing board of all schools here in the Imperial Valley, is making a huge push for this. It's actually great, and I cannot show you. I don't know how it's gonna behave when it comes to Zoom and recording. So you have a multitude of tools that should be free for your students. If you want to make a poster in the classroom or a one pager or whatever, you don't have to use pen and paper anymore. You don't have to buy your own materials. Maybe it's a lesson you need to put together immediately. If you're like me, sometimes they're going to spring trainings on you. Next week we're in block schedule. Next week I have to have to give a test, and I am out Tuesday because I have to go to an esports tournament. I coach esports in Calexico High School. We almost we made the playoffs for first season, but I don't want to go too deeply into that. And I have an avid training on Thursday, so you need an emergency plan. What do? You go in Adobe Express. You tell your kids go in Adobe Express and tell me about George Washington. Okay, make a video, but Mister, I don't want to show my face. They don't have to. And from audio, I'm not going to demonstrate like how it works. And importantly, a lot of my samples are student samples, and a lot of the students say their name. And I don't want to show you that. I'm not supposed to show you that. Or I'm going to walk you through how it works, and then you guys can play it on your own in your own spaces. So you select an avatar, and this avatar is going to sync it to your sound of your lips. If you are making sassy voice lines, it would actually start having sassy, animations. So your students are going to be able to enjoy this. They love it. My students hate it, just so you guys know. That's why they get more assignments about this, as you're going to learn it. So they can choose the cat. They can choose multiple different people, right? It's trying to add more backgrounds because a lot of people want to feel represented. All my students like these cutie ones, so perhaps it is a software that it's more popular with your middle schoolers, more popular with your elementary teachers or students. Let's see if I can actually not break the software, and let's see if it's actually going to record. So as I am talking, and it's like allow microphone, so as I'm and it's going to be there. And as I am talking, it's going to be recording the sound of my voice, and it's going to be doing all the lip syncing, all the animation. And this is a great project to showcase, your content to admin. If you're walking into to do a observation, if you have parent night, if you have whatever going on, and you want to have a project that really pops, this is your project. I'm going to stop talking just to put done. It's going to upload, it's going to process, and then you're going to see the unicorn just repeat back to what I said. And classrooms are noisy. Very, very noisy. And I'm going to show you AI is going to remove all the noise around that, and it's going to capture only the sound of the voice. It has to compute the lip sync. It takes a while. So while is it computing, do you have any questions about the software?
Yeah, I have a question for the class. Have any of you seen or used new Express Adobe before?
I
Right.
have seen of it and
I
heard of
haven't
it, but I've never personally used it. But I am learning about it in my SPED class, which revolves about website technology that we can incorporate into the classroom. And my professor did actually mention this, and I think it's really interesting, especially for younger kids that I'm interested in elementary teaching. I think younger kids would have like a fun and engaging time creating their little avatar to talk and all of that.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to share? And I see here Virginia in the chat. Virginia uses the Ed Puzzle since it has videos, and you can adjust questions during the video, which can be very helpful with the audio, the visual, and the reading of the questions. And teachers can edit and add multiple choice questions as well.
Okay. All right. Seems like it's ready to play. So there you will have it. No.
Can you hear it, Andrew?
I can hear it.
Oh, okay. We can't because I think it's because you have your headphones, but that is okay.
Uh,
We heard you before, so
yeah,
this
so
is
you see,
really
so it's
cool.
lip syncing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you can open an editor and your students can create a whole movie from it, the whole project from it. Um, yeah, but if your students are like my students, they are going to take more modeling when it comes to this editor. I gave them a tutorial because I had to be out for a couple of days. I had a personal thing to do, and I had to tell them, okay, I'm gonna be here for with you for the first 2 days of the week, and then I'm gonna be on for the rest of the week. I'm not gonna be back on the Monday. You have a project that is video. Here's it. Here it is. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to do anything, that you don't want to. Open in the editor, chop it up, do whatever. Here's a tutorial. I want to show you how to do in the classroom. You guys got it? Yes, we got it. Cool. Friday afternoon, what the project is due? 50 emails. I don't know how to do it. So modeling. I think have taken enough of your time, my dudes. So any
That's
questions?
okay. That is why we're here for.
Awesome.
It's been a very enriching conversation. Definitely the tools I think are so important because we're definitely in that phase right now, whether it's a teaching demonstration. So those of my students are already in the field can definitely, some of them, some of you already applying these tools, but then or other tools, but learning from what we're using, we can definitely keep it exciting and diversify our lessons. So I do have a closing question, and this question is and I asked you, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, on what are 5 lessons learned, some 5 tips that you can give to our future educators who are going to be teaching, but also working, learning, living at the borderlands. What are some 5 tips of advice that you can give? And hand in hand with that, if you can tie it at all to what we just saw regarding technology and these various tools, whether it be the ones you presented or maybe other tools, perhaps exploring like what are some lessons learned or tips regarding using these tools specifically for our English language learners here in the region that we're in?
A lot of them are going to be repeated because I've included them throughout my presentation, my sharing of experiences with you. But I'm gonna tell you the 5 one. I'm gonna punctuate them, and I'm gonna go a little bit quicker. Definitely, it's a Friday. It's about to be 6. A lot of you are probably antsy about going home and do well. You're already at home, but doing something else. So I'm gonna tell you 5 understandings that I got from teaching. Comfort is bad for you. Comfort's bad for you. Every single teacher that I've seen fail, every single student that I've seen fail, gets comfortable in doing what they're doing, and they're not growing up. They're not growing. Growing up when it comes to as educators, they're not growing as people. They're not growing as they're not doing professional growth. They're not doing anything. They want to do the same things. They want to do exactly the same things. Class companion was suggested to me this year. Actually last year, and I kind of play with it in my class, and I didn't implement it. And this year I implemented it from the get-go, and my understandings are much better. I've also implemented Alvarez as a daily thing, and it's much better. And that ties up into my next point, my new understanding. Be willing to experiment in the classroom. Be willing to experiment what's good for you. Plenty of times you're going to find a master teacher, and a lot of you guys are going to find master teachers that are going to be of different qualities. That's the reality of it. My master teacher, I'm going to tell you who it is. His entire feedback was, looks good. That's it. Looks good. Be willing to experiment, because you never know when you're going to find a fun activity for your kids. You never know when you're going to look for something that might be great for your kids. Someone mentioned Kahoot. I give out homework passes during Kahoot. I give out benefits for the Kahoot just to increase that level of competitiveness. It actually creates this idea of healthy competition, and as long as it's healthy, it should be welcome in your classroom. One of my students told me like competition is toxic. Like, no, toxic competition is toxic. If it's healthy, if it's within the boundaries of your classroom, it should be good. So I found that Kahoot was very good for my students. It's great for review, so I kept doing that. Maybe I will switch to Quizlet just to give it a whirl. You should be always willing to ask for help. Many of the tools that I have shown you right now are tools that I got when I asked for help. And it doesn't have to be necessarily someone in your district. It can be someone on Facebook. There's many teacher groups on Facebook. If you're teaching APs for the first time, even if you're not teaching APs for the first time, there is many groups that are going to be available to you, and they have lesson plans ready for you. They are more than willing to walk you through the entire lesson plan. They're more than willing to tell you what you should be doing, what you should not be doing. There's a whole wide support group for educators. I'm in a group that's called AP Psychology Teachers, and every single time we're like, hey, I'm not sure if I understand this concept correctly. Could you guys guide me through it? And within seconds, someone's like, here's the difference. It's a subtle difference, but here is the main idea of it. Here's what you should do. And you know what? If you don't understand it, here's a nice video for you to reference. I would like to remind you, especially because of your students at ELs, they are going through a rough patch. You might be the only constant that they have in their life. And that's scary because you're the only constant that they have in your life, and that puts a big responsibility on your shoulders. So I'd like to tell you that every day is a new day. You should be treating those kids like it's a new day. Give them another chance. I know some of them are going to be absolute bastards to you, and that's okay. Sometimes the job requires you for you to take it. And I will tell you right now, I had one student that all of a sudden is disengaging. He's mouthy. He's doing all of the nightmare students. He's not really getting, he's not engaging. And that's a change of behavior that I didn't see. Like the entire year, the student was great. And I'm like, why is this guy just being, like this? Turns out he's about to turn 18. Parents did their legal obligation and they don't want to do anything else. And he's about to get kicked out the moment he gets, out of high school. And then again, homeless services only work for people that are 18. The state is not willing to provide homeless services for a lot of people. So why is he acting out? Because there's problems at home, and you're the only constant in your life. And if you are also giving him issues, you're adding to those issues. So every day has to be a new day. It's okay to get mad at your students. It's okay to scream at them a little bit. It's okay to be irate sometimes at them. It's okay. It's only when it becomes abusive that it's not okay. A lot of us get mad. A lot of us are human. You should not forget your humanity. But in regards of not forgetting your humanity, you should also give them a chance to prove that they can be your students. I had a student skips my class, for the first 3 weeks. Mid-semester, that student is not skipping my class anymore. I actually that's one of my AP students this year. I've seen a lot of students growing, and I'll tell you right now, be careful about the stuff that your students are going through. My class is psychology, so a lot of my students trauma dump me all the time because they hear psychology and they say you're a safe space, and I'm like, I might be, but that doesn't mean I'm qualified to give you any advice on the things that happen outside the classroom. One of the things that stuck to me, which I will tell you why it's every day should be a new day. One of my students is talking about inheritable behavior, and unfortunately or fortunately, depends on how you want to see it, through Synergy, which is my learning my attendance platform, I can see that the student has a custody issue, especially one with domestic violence involved. And when he asks, can you inherit certain behaviors? I know which question he's asking. He's asking, am I going to be violent like my dad? And I tell them, it's not guaranteed. Sorry, I cannot promise you that you're not going to be, but I can promise you that if you give it an effort, you can be different. And really good kid, really smart kid. The evolution that I've seen year over year is amazing. And you will find, hopefully you'll find those feelings too, right? Especially if you're elementary students, you might actually get your kids for 6 years. And I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna be crying buckets when they graduate. I did first time they graduated. Lastly, the thing that I want you guys to take away from this lesson is plan every day. It doesn't matter what you do. Plans change all the time. I think that you guys saw it on the presentation that Ms. Alvarez did, at the beginning, that you should be flexible with your plans. That's okay. You should have a structure with your plans. And sometimes my plan says I'm doing this, but there is no other structure to it because I want to know how my students respond. Some of my students are not going to respond, well to it. If it was last year, 4th period will fight me every single minute of the hour, but they will do it. They will do it. 2nd period, will do it, no questions asked. It's like, do an essay on this. Okay. 4th period is like, why? Why do we have to do the essay? Why do we have to do this? And as they're writing, they're fighting with me. And then my 7th period, was actually a more loose period because they're done. They just want to get home, so they will do things that are necessary just to go home, but they will also do extra. If you want to get discussion out of them, they're like, it's Friday, we want to go home. Can we get out early, a minute early, please? It's all those things. So you have to plan every day. Not necessarily every day, but maybe if you're planning Sunday for the rest of your week, daily you should go and say, did I accomplish what I wanted to accomplish today? And if not, what do I have to do to make sure that that gets done tomorrow? I had those days too, in which my plans did not go to plan. Unfortunately, that's the reality of it. No plan. Like Mike Tyson will say, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And unfortunately, as educators, you're going to get punched in the face by everything. Yesterday, I had a lockdown drill, first period. When did that happen? Happened right before the period ended. So that actually bled into my prep. So if I had the plan to go and do copies, if I had the plan to prep something else, that plan went away immediately. And what do I do now? I need to be able to plan on my feet. I need to be able to do many different things. Anyways, friends, that's it for me. If you guys have questions, if not, I'll be more than glad to let you guys be.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for your time. And I do want to open up the floor for questions. So for the class, this is definitely the time to ask any questions that you have regarding possibly, teaching English language learners or using this technology, or what to expect once you're in the job market. That's one of the openings that Mr. Alvarez provided regarding, what to expect, or maybe you're teaching a specific course, but then, the principal now wants you to teach another subject or another course. So that's, something that you need to be ready for. But here I'm opening up for questions. Any questions that you have for Mr. Alvarez?
Well, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to comment on the apps that Andrew showed us. So they were very helpful, but I also think that since it's something new to us, we have to invest time on it, like explore it before introducing to our students or whatever we like or don't like about it. And because I think it's gonna be like, if you just wanted to try it on the classroom, it's gonna be very difficult. So well, I don't know if I got my point.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think, Virginia, you're touching on Mr. Alvarez's fifth piece of advice, which is to plan. So absolutely, as you learn about this technology, next steps are to plan, to practice and explore how to use it. So then therefore, once you're in the classroom, you're very just fluent in how to use these tools, but also consider this class as an opportunity for those of you that have upcoming teaching demonstrations. Don't be afraid to explore and to look kind of outside of the box regarding activities. You might consider some of these tools for activities that we have here in class. But that's a really good point, Virginia. Absolutely. Okay, any last questions before we conclude with our guest lecture? All right, so we are at the end. Mr. Alvarez, we have arrived to the end of our guest lecture, and I want to give you the floor to provide any concluding advice. And my question to you is advice to future educators. And specifically, if you would have had the opportunity to give your past self, your past new teacher who was going to the field, what was it, 2021 or 2020?
2020.
2020, here, newly graduated, Mr. Alvarez, going into the field, the job market, the classroom. What advice would you have given yourself?
Bit of a hard question. I guess this idea of taking the time to develop the relationships is perhaps the best thing that you could do. A lot of the people that are in this classroom are going to be your coworkers at some point. Plenty of people that I saw in the program are my coworkers right now. A math teacher and a PE teacher that went in the credential program with me are now my coworkers, and we have to deal with each other whether we like it or not. So if there were any frictions between classmates, you should bury the hatchet right now, because you never know who is going to be your next boss, who is going to be your next coworker. you should definitely take every opportunity to be a opportunity as a way of like it's a job interview. You should whenever you're at a site, you should be meeting staff. When you're at a site, you should be talking to support staff because you never know when you need something from support staff. I talk to Mr. Herrera every now and then. Mr. Herrera is my tech support. So whenever my printer goes down, he's there. Whenever I have internet issues, he's there. I know him. I talk to him. And sometimes, I can always, get resources from him if I know him, because I can ask him directly. I don't have to ask him through email. Sometimes I can just see him in passing. He's like, "Hey, Raul, what's up?" I was having issues with this. You mind helping me after a while? Where if I don't know them, if I cannot approach them in that context, I can just go. I'll have to use an email, right? And sometimes emails are very impersonal, or sometimes we cannot get across things through email the way we want to, like we would in person. So definitely that would be it. Networking. A lot of us feel, or a lot of us are going to be in many job sites, and you should know which teachers are your coaches. EdTech leads are going to be available in the website. So like a lot of us users are like, well, I have to like practice in a lot of this, softwares. And I'm like, that's a fair point. And if you ask, there's EdTech coaches that can actually go and teach you on your prep. They'll ask, your school administrative assistant. They're like, hey, can I get a substitute so I can go and teach this person how to do class companion in their prep? So your EdTech leads are going to go into your classroom and teach you how to do it. If you have an ASD, you should know them. An ASD is an academic support teacher. They will also teach you how to do software. They might actually grant you access to the software. If you don't have a school district account, or if you don't have access to those websites because the internet is not allowing you to connect, and that's a fair point. Sometimes your firewall could be preventing you from using a lot of the softwares. You can ask your ASDs. So the point that what I would give myself, just to conclude this statement, the advice I would give myself this time is to meet people, network with people, meet people. If there's a staff gathering, if there's a union meeting, if there is a birthday in the lounge, even just go and shake hands, meet people. It doesn't do you any harm. As a matter of fact, I will tell you right now, I am the presumptive chair of social science as of this moment. Unless anyone else throws the hat and makes it an election, I'm gonna slide right into that position of chair. So I'm gonna be the guy that you're gonna be communicating when it comes to all things official to admin. So you should know, like, hey, when do I have a prep? When am I on campus? Am I going to be on campus? What's my email? What's my phone number? Sometimes it might be 12 o'clock in the morning. You need to reach me, and it's like, hey, man, I'm having this issue. Can you assist? You should be able to approach me comfortably. And how can you do that if you are not, comfortable with me? I also like to tell you that if you are trying to get into Calexico High School as a student teacher next semester, more than likely, I am going to be your mentor teacher, because no one else is taking student teachers. They already decided. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
just
tell you right
to
now. Yeah,
highlight
go ahead.
that. How are you supposed to ask comfortably Mr. Alvarez for support if you did not attend his birthday celebration?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's it. My birthday celebration is between semesters, so if you're showing up to my house, I'll probably show you the door, because that's you're in my house. But no, I mean, to the point of doing that is like a lot of the social events are are for that social events, and that's how you meet faculty people. A lot of the people that are going to be my mentors later on in my story, when I got hired, are because I was in the teachers lounge and I was trying to get some wings, because it's exhausting the first time you teach. So if you feel like you're exhausted and you're like, but I haven't done anything, it's a mentality thing. And eventually I was there, and they were making questions. It's like, hey, who are you? I was like, oh, like, who are you? Why are you here? Do you work here? Are you a substitute? It's like, no, my name is Mr. Alvarez, blah, 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 blah. I'm the faculty. I'm the new faculty person. So they now see me in the faculty meeting, and now we talk, and now they're my friends. And now I just got free cake, dudes.
Mhm.
So that's how I did it. You show up to the lunch one time, shake hands, kiss babies, and I got free cake. And I
Yeah,
get
but
invited to a lot of parties.
yes, and on a serious note, every opportunity for those of you here is really a job interview. Every single opportunity, every meeting that you go to is a job interview. And I do want to highlight Mr. Alvarez's advice that meeting, having good relationship with your colleagues, and being supportive really goes a long way. And you never know when you're going to see some of the people here, whether it be in these guest lectures or even your colleagues here in the class, who might be in your interview board for a position. So absolutely. So we've arrived to the end, and just to recap some pieces of advice here by Mr. Alvarez. Concluding pieces of advice. One, comfort is not always a good thing. If you are comfortable with the tools and the approach that you're using to teaching, that probably means that you need to change it up. So being comfortable is not always good. Hand in hand with that is being willing to experiment. So if you learned about a tool that you've never used before, consider exploring that tool, consider practicing in that tool, and consider applying it maybe at your next teaching demonstration. Be willing to ask for help. That's also very important. There are resources available that you can tap into. And also another advice specifically to students and for our English language learners who are migrating, maybe they're migrating from, and various places in the world, because we do, have a refugee crisis globally, or they're migrating from Mexicali or, Mexico. That's a very difficult place to be at. Some of us have experienced that firsthand. Some of us have not. But one piece of advice here that really I think we have to amplify and highlight is that you might be your students' only constant. So showing up fully and is very important, because there might be a lot of difficulties that students are going through, and you might be their only positive that they have for that day, that week, that period in their life, but also the only stability and constant in that moment. That's, I think, very important, especially when working with English language learners. And then lastly, the advice is to plan, and plan. So as you learn about these resources, these tools, practice with those tools, make mistakes with those tools, use these tools at the next teaching demonstration, and then that way you're going to be very ready, because you've explored, you planned, you experimented for when you're out in the field. So to conclude, in summary, those are pieces of advice by Mr. Alvarez. We've arrived to the end. Is there anything else, Mr. Alvarez, that you would like to say before we end our session here?
I'm going to say no on account that I can keep talking forever. And I believe that all of us deserve a Friday afternoon free of myself included. So that's the end for me, guys. So unless you guys have any specific questions, if you don't have any questions, if for some reason you need help for whatever reason, for anything specifically, that's my district email. You can email me and I'll try to help you out. I don't know if I could help you out. Obviously, I cannot read into the future. I wish I would. Lottery numbers and all that. So that is my district email. You can reach me out right over there. Send me an email. Tell me, it's like, hey, you were talking in my class at SDSU. I know you mentioned something about the X or Y or Z, or maybe you know about X or Y or Z. Shoot me an email. I'll respond to you. I'm very bad at responding at emails, though, especially because I get 5,000. I'm gonna teach you another trick. Disable the Google Classroom feature for sending you emails when students submit assignments to you, because otherwise you're gonna have 5,000 emails. So that makes it difficult for emails to find emails. Also, I don't respond to emails over the weekend. That's a very good practice for you to have. Don't respond to emails over the weekend. You can easily get caught by this job very easily, and it can become your entire life. And I will tell you right now, separate your life from your teaching life. Anyways, that's it for me. You guys have any questions for me? You have my email. You have Dr. Falcon, who can actually put you in contact with me if you want to. If nothing else, I am going to go and enjoy my Friday. And hopefully you guys have a nice and enjoyable Friday afternoon as well.